We'll get started by welcoming everybody on the panel. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for your time, and we're looking for your experience to share it with us. We can do like fast introduction if you like to go, Mr. Noor. Okay.
Hi everyone, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon. My name is Noor Helmi. I'm the CEO of IX Telecom. So we are a Malaysian-based company. We are doing more like internet aggregator, and we're providing everything as a service and also the digital infrastructure management. Is that enough?
Good afternoon, everyone. Stefano Resi from Nokia. I'm working as head of the data center sales in Middle East and Africa. So my perimeter is a beautiful, exciting region. I've been in the region for 18 years, actually. Before this role, I was responsible for the strategy in Middle East and Africa. And in this function, I really saw the subsea cable arriving from Alcatel Submarine Network. I saw that, on the landing point, there were internet exchange, new data center. So I sort of intercepted this wave arriving in this region. And one of the paradigm is now to utilize this network as a service.
So, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon, everybody. So, my name is Willie George. I head networks and technology for Zoe, Zain Omantel International. So, you've seen a lot of our banners and, I'm sure you know us, but a brief about us is that the motto of our company is connecting continents. And, the goal for us as a company is to have a pan-regional network, leveraging on, Zain's, I would say, unprecedented footprint in the Middle East, along with Omantel's world-class wholesale abilities, right? Now, a critical piece to achieve this goal is the network assets that we have as Zoe. And this network assets includes, investments in a lot of submarine cables, 20+ systems, a pan-regional terrestrial network that we are building on top of fiber infrastructure, as well as high-capacity multi-band optical system, and a global IP backbone that's consists of 2 different autonomous systems, one from Zain and one from Omantel. And my team is essentially responsible for planning, doing the technical architecture, managing the deployment, and along with our colleagues from operations and service delivery, managing the network infrastructure. So, welcome to this panel. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. My name is Edwin van Ierland. I'm the Group CEO of iBasis. As you all know, an independent company, wholesale, existing already 30 years, started in the dungeons of Boston, Massachusetts a long time ago. We recently, let's say, finished our 8th acquisition with the Telstra International Business, where we are going to expand, let's say, our footprint significantly in the APAC region. And that will be an interesting adventure. Also with this discussion going forward, network as a service. There are advantages, but there are also a lot of disadvantages on that one.
That's what we're going to get at. So basically, the drive behind this panel, what we have seen yesterday from multiple sessions, that started with Will from CNA was talking about how AI is affecting submarine and how to commercialize things and so on. Later on, moving to Mr. Alan Hollander, talking about kind of, I will call it borderless network, how things are we're not stuck to the CLS, how we want to expand later on into the other data centers in the inland, outside land. And the way I look at it from my understanding of how AI and AI inferencing, I don't see any borders anywhere. The way I look at it, it's one homogeneous network that needs to be managed end to end. And this is where basically NaaS might come into the picture. With Mr. Noor, we want to get your experience on NaaS, how it has at least changed the commercial part of the story from being long-term contracts to something that is on demand. intent-based. And then we see how we're going to expand it, if we can expand it into submarine and so on.
I mean, the network as a service NaaS is fundamentally changing the commercial architecture of international connectivity, right? Because it shifts the value of, from owning infrastructure, to we call it orchestrating outcomes, right? So from before this, as you mentioned earlier, we own the infra. So, but now the expectation from the users is how to orchestrate the outcomes from the connectivity. Yeah. So NaaS is commonly defined as a cloud model, right? That where the user gets the networking outcomes without owning the infrastructure, without building it, and without maintaining it. Right. So now it's changed, right? Because historically the international connectivity was built based on this we call it the more hardware centric mindset, right? Yeah. So we always want to have this we call it this the capacity, the submarine capacity, right? And then this fixed MPLS, fixed IRU, the long-term contracts, that where we call it make it like 10 to 25 years contract, but now it's changing.
From long term to short term.
Correct. So it's not changing. I mean, we need to have more dynamics, right? So that it can. On our side, we did experience where the customers doesn't want to have this 3 years, 10 gig contracts anymore. So they will ask for the 10 gigs burstable to 20 gigs, right? For a short period of time, maybe during the football match between Liverpool and Manchester United, right? They only want to pay for that duration only. Right. So the commercial architecture is different, right? So it's a lot of things need to be done to shift. That mindset.
It's a very very valid point. When we look at it, it's really good for us as consumers because we pay as we use.
Yeah.
But what do you see from your side? Like, did it make any incremental increase in your revenue? Because I know that usually short term it goes like 10-15% more revenue than.
The good thing about this network as a service, because it's more automation. So in order for us to provide this network as a service, NaaS, we have to make sure our network is fully automated.
Yes.
So when it's fully automated, definitely it will help us to increase the margin, right? Because the dependency on the human become lesser, right? And you will be depending more on the automation. So it's something good for the company, But it's a cultural mindset. It's not easy it's not a technical, for me, it's not a technical challenge, right? It's more on the cultural challenge. How you're going to change the culture of your team, right, from a conventional provider to become the NaaS provider.
Yes.
It's something different.
It's a mindset that needs to change. Mr. Edwin, thank you very much. Mr. Edwin, can you just, as we have talked briefly, like where do you see like the international business cases and the use cases and so on? Like, share with us your experience in general about NaaS, because I know that you.
If you look at iBasis, we never own our own infrastructure.
Nice.
We are completely dependent on all our providers, which has its advantages, but also disadvantages. It's a matter of control and delegated control and transparency going forward. However, the complications are nearby. If you look into the future, 1 year ago, nobody was concerned about data sovereignty, for instance, which is now becoming a hot topic. Do we store our data in the US or do we store our data somewhere else in the cloud going forward? Nobody bothers about that in the past. And now you are sending those specific requirements to your provider as such, and they scrap their head. Oh, we never thought about that either. So let's say the advantages are definitely there, but you also see, let's say, the limitations. Let's say the customer-specific, let's say, solutions you can offer if you have your own solution going forward. And look what Zoe or Omantel announced yesterday. They are going for a full meshed 8 data center network with 100% availability, which is the highest KPI ever, and making that public. And then I still remember, okay, a couple of months ago, there was a Red Sea cable cut. 4 cables were cut, and let's say an hour and a half, there was no internet in Dubai and environment. So how are you going to connect your 8 POPs with the rest of the world and guarantee that 100% uptime? For your own network, you can guarantee that, but for the outside network, you will still have the dependency on other interconnects. The business case are unique on itself. There is no business case positive or there's business case negative. It's indeed all kinds of soft elements which makes you decide what is the best way going forward. In our case, we were never, let's say, significant present in the APAC region. And now in a very short time, let's say we have to build up our capacity network in APAC to facilitate the Telstra international business going forward. And that is a huge effort going forward, let's say with max redundancy for the Telstra retail traffic going forward, which gives us a huge responsibility, which we delegate also to our providers. So it is a matter of control or delegated control on itself. Let's say for me, the business case is the 7-year that I can have the relationship with Telstra. And that is also our strategy, let's say, how to stay present in the market, because we all know that the decline is there and that the offset of the market cannot be achieved with value-added services only. You need to be very precise on your cost component. But the outsourcing traffic will give you the spike again, then you see the decline, and then there is the next one. And that's what we do already for 30 years, and we're still successful and independent on that one.
Very interesting points, especially when you're mentioning that you don't own infrastructure, actually you rent it. So that's when you think about it, it's just like we're moving from the idea of controlling a network to control a network and network experience. And one of the things that I tend to think that NaaS should be able to do it. Although some people, they think about it only as something to reduce OpEx and whatsoever. Because you are buying from different service providers in different locations in the world. Sometimes I personally look at NaaS as the stitching point that will stitch all your network that is spread all over the place with different service providers. And it will make it look like as one unified network that you own. And it will fix and it will enhance the experience of your end customers. That's how we look at it, or how I look at it, hopefully. Really expanding NaaS to submarine and wholesale and how to use it for inferencing. What do you have in mind? I know that you have a lot, but we have 20 minutes.
So to begin with, you saw 100% uptime on a slide from us? I'm just curious who presented it.
That was even mentioned by, by your team yesterday evening. So.
I think we need to go back and check that, guys. Just, yeah, but all kidding aside. So see, NaaS today, fundamentally, if you look at it, I think there are 2 models, right? So the first model is more enterprise-centric, where people use technologies like SD-WAN, SASE, in some cases, a combination of a hybrid solution of IPsec, stateless core, right? And then they deploy NaaS as a service, right? Or network as a service. Now, in this scenario, typically they build it either over internet or over capacities that are already there, right? So as long as you have the requisite SLAs in terms of capacity, some reasonable amount of latency, jitter, the service runs. And there's no real interaction between the overlay layer, which is what all these tunnels do, and the underlay layer, which is what your submarine or DWM or even internet infrastructure is, right? Now this is the state of the industry today. Okay. Now, if you expand that onto subsea or even terrestrial DWM, if you go with the traditional entitlement model or the consortium model, right, where you got a certain amount of entitlement on a submarine cable based on your investment, the situation is that is quite static, and you don't really have control over that network because the elements are managed by a NOC of that consortium, right? So in that kind of a scenario, trying to do NaaS on the DWM or submarine layer becomes really challenging. Now, the good thing is that this is now changing, right? So if you look at most submarine cables, people are either buying spectrum or they're buying fiber pairs, right? And they're deploying their own equipment on top of this. Now, when this happens, you have control of the network elements, right? And because you have control of the network elements, it now becomes technically feasible for you to do some kind of network as a service. Now, when I say network as a service, what does that mean? We are not talking about just static connectivity. We're talking about connectivity that is consumption-based, on demand, and more OpEx-centric than CapEx-centric. Now, for this to happen, even on the DWM layer, commercially, you need to deploy this between locations where there is multi-tenancy and some level of critical mass with your end customers. Because the idea is that if you don't have enough customers, who's going to timeshare your service, right? So that is what I think you will see in current service offering with folks like Megaport, Packet Fabric. They are typically present in commercial facilities where there's a lot of customers. They have their own assets that they can control, and then you effectively have some sort of a software orchestration layer that will actually look at things like assets available, your billing, reporting, right? Performance management, the whole works, right? So I think now there is a trend towards that. And I think in Oman, classic example would be MC1, which is the Equinix facility in Barka, SN1, and the other data centers that either Zoe is building or other parties are building, but we have open access into it, right? Because the more meshy our network is, the more potential there is for us to have customers. Now, I also mentioned how traditional enterprise today using an overlay is not really interacting with the underlay, right?
Okay.
But that's also got to change going forward into the future. Because as you see in use cases that are coming at the edge, you are going to need to build overlay-based networks, but to make sure that you have sufficient amount of network performance, latency, jitter, capacity.
Exactly.
There has to be, I would say, a multi-domain interaction between the overlay layer and the underlay layer. And this could be DWDM, this could be radio, right? Coming back to what I think Stefan will probably want to add as well, but that's fine. So you have this level of multi-layer orchestration so that you have the ability to reserve the requisite capacity on the underlay and then, give the required service. So this is what I think some of the challenges are.
It's actually a great point. It's basically as I was just talking to Mr. Edwin, we look at the network. Currently, segregating network is not happening. It's end to end, from one continent to another continent, from one service provider to another service provider, from a data center to a 5G tower, from data center to another data center. It's all over the place. So segregation is not going to work. Apart what you have mentioned, we're going to have multiple layers, multiple technologies, multiple vendors, multiple service providers, different continents, submarine and not submarine. And we were talking about this just I think yesterday or the day before on how to control this. And is it realistic to think about getting a cognitive type of network management system that can manage all of this and do for you the seamless connectivity? It's a big question.
That's a huge question, actually. And I think it's not only feasible, but I think it's going to be the only solution, to be honest. Because tailing up to what Willie was just saying, the overlay network then obviously has an underlay. So the usual situation is that you think you're protecting something in the overlay, but then in the underlay, it's the same fiber. So you have in the overlay route and protected route, but then a fiber cut can affect both. So there must be an intelligence that is looking at all these problems. So I want to start, if I have just 2 minutes. So from a Nokia point of view, network is a big word. Okay, we do network, which are access network for residential. We do 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G network. We do optical network, obviously, DWDM. We do IP networking. We do the networking inside the data center. Mm-hmm. And therefore, although obviously we have different R&D because it's not possible to, approach the overall network problem. Even here, we need to somehow focus on one domain. But in Nokia, we are very well aware that at some stage, these networks need to cooperate together.
Okay.
And I've been actually starting my career in automation. And automation has always been solving an engineering problem. So if I can make a quick survey here, how many of you or of us are from an engineering background or engineering study? Can I see perhaps a vast majority? So we see a problem, we think we speed up, 1 hour per person, we get it automated. But this is a bottom-up type of thinking. Now, we have a solution, I like to say it because it was born actually here in GCC, but very few companies are thinking how to integrate, as example, the optical network as a service with a CRM system so that the account manager can directly allocate the resources. Typically in all the company right now, what is happening is that the account manager is sending an email to the engineering team. The engineering team sees if in his inventory is possible to allocate that resource. Up and down, the minimum time is 3 months. Sorry, 3 weeks or month. So automation become a multidimensional problem. It's a problem of different segment, okay? You can automate just the optical network, but then your problem is how to automate between different vendors or different countries. Then you must automate also the inland optical in multiple layers, optical, IP, and I'm thinking, as example, many of the internet exchange players, they create a fabric, okay, the overlay that is connecting the workload all across the world. One step above, we have the hyperscaler who are giving you everything in a virtualized way, so you don't know exactly where are your data. Let's park aside the sovereign regulation, but it's a full network. There is an underlay and a sub-underlay. So automation is such a multidimensional problem, as I said, between countries, technologies, function within the company, account manager and engineering. And we cannot continue to solving that from okay, I have this engineering problem, let me solve it. At some stage, there must be an artificial intelligence, or the human intelligence cannot scale to that point. Call it machine learning, perhaps, but an artificial intelligence that is supervising all these interactions between the multiple layers. So, long answer to arrive to the point that is not just feasible. For me, it's the end game. It's the end game where we need to aim at. Having clear, then we will define the passage one step at a time. But we cannot continue having networks that are partially automated.
But are you not making complex things even more complex at this moment? Because an account manager is really not interested in what kind of underlying techniques are there. He simply wants to sell, whether it's a voice service, a message service, or a mobile service, or an IoT service. It's very simple, and it has to work in a very short period of time. Let's say I'm as a buyer from these kind of services, I rely completely upon my provider, and it is their responsibility to bring it. However, with the complexity about regulation, data sovereignty, security, and all these kinds of elements, I do not want to add an additional complex layer about how CRM or AI is making that easier or controllable for me. I delegate that to my NaaS provider who will say, okay, I will do that for you. And it's a delegated authority where I keep control of the architecture of my network. I demand when 100 gig ports need to be upgraded to 400 gig, I demand the reliability and the uptime.
Meet the SLAs.
And my account managers can sell independent what kind of underlying technique is there.
Yeah, let me complement. What I was trying to depict is a sort of automated selling. So your account manager role is primarily to strike an agreement with their customer. Your customer can purchase the capacity, just to make it simple, directly from a portal. And how can he do that? Your account manager physically does not access the inventories of all your partners. This is the part that I think must be automated in the part of automation that is vertical. So your account manager will strike an agreement with customer number A and give him a portal access. This person can go from a quote to cash immediately.
You know now that the portal are #1 security breaches worldwide. So I'm not giving access to any portal at this moment.
I'm not saying it's available today.
Exactly, yeah. These are the issues we are facing. In 1 year, our environment has completely changed. If you look at the security breaches which are happening on a daily basis, whether via the secure portal or via a sideway or about data sovereignty, we never spoke about that, where we are going to store our data. I need to relocate now my data storage arrays from location X to location Y, right. Let's say, to make it more flexible and to make my, let's say, service to my outsourced customers even more guaranteed than before. Security, the amount of DDoS attacks we are facing on our network on a daily basis, it's humongous. Let's say, and let's say, I'm fundamentally against adding more complication and even more automation to a certain extent, because I think that the human intelligence should prevail above all that automation, to be quite honest. We cannot steer a network, and perhaps I'm a dinosaur already, but we cannot manage and guarantee a service with that high quality standard, what we are, let's say, offering to the customers, with a lot of automation. And in the previous session, there was a discussion about what are we going to do about bot traffic? Is it generated traffic or is it authentic traffic? Do we need to pay for termination, yes or no? These kinds of discussions are now popping up. And then we consider it as fraud traffic. No, it's not fraud traffic. It's a new methodology which we are going to use, and we should monetize it. But we are, let's say, cautious about, let's say, the speed of change which is happening, whether it's flash calling, whether it is short duration calls, whether it is call center traffic, whether it's bot traffic. I don't care. We should sell it and monetize it.
The artificial intelligence will never replace human intelligence. I'm fully with you. But it can accelerate something that you cannot control at big scale. So you were mentioning the DDoS attack. DDoS attack 4 years ago were costing, I think, $100. Now they cost $10. So, and they're getting automated. So at some stage, that means that, now let's see from the hacker. Okay, the hacker is putting his human intelligence, but is using automated system to create this attack to you. So at some stage, you will have to prevent, and we know that security is a Tom and Jerry situation, okay? So it's running, but the speed is very important. The speed with whom we react to problem. So security breach at night, I would love to have a first line of security that is automated, that is responding on something. It cannot be, then in the morning, there is a meeting and people agree, and then the endpoint solution is, yes, they hacked us in this way, so we resolve the problem. That's human. But the first line of defense must be, in my point of view, with some level of intelligence.
I think Mr. Noor has something.
Yeah, I believe we need to find like the balance between the automation, right? And because I like to echo what Edwin said just now. Yeah, if if it's 100% automated, right, there'll be another challenge that will arise, right? But because if you look at the data sovereignty, right, we're talking about the public cloud, right? Before there's a cloud, when they become trending, become a sexy things, everyone wanted to move to public cloud. But then when it comes to data sovereignty, right, and then the private cloud become a better choice compared to the public cloud. And we're talking about NaaS, right? NaaS, yeah, is the rise of NaaS, okay? But how about the sovereignty of NaaS? Yeah, people haven't talking about it, right? But once the NaaS becomes fully automated and it's something that we are not able to control, yeah, then there'll be an issue with sovereignty as well, right? So we need to find, the balance to, to address, these issues.
I definitely agree. I think, go ahead.
So just to add to that, right? So when we talk about AI and ML and various other things, right? I think today you're using AI and ML to take large volumes of data and make sense of it.
Yeah.
Now, what you do with that depends on you, right? So typically everything that you see today is not closed loop automation, right? So you use that as a tool, you get a certain outcome, and then you as a human today take a decision. And that's what happens today. Going forward, I think there is a lot of, I would say, push to having closed loop automation. But again, I don't think it is ever going to be 100%, right? It might be to tasks that are non-critical where things could become closed loop and the other thing could still remain open. So
This is really, it's quite.
But it depends on the end market. Let's say where does the question come from? In an enterprise market, most likely the demand will be completely different from a traditional MNO or traditional carrier. Let's say, and sometimes we are in an extremely fast-moving world, but sometimes we still work with laggards at the same time. And let's say, if I look at my cost of automation and what I spent on investments the past 5 to 10 years, let's say to facilitate all the changes on OBR, on, let's say, on SAP systems, on financial systems, on OSS, BSS systems, it's amazing. And it is even more amazing that we can still make profit if you see the declining revenue at the same time. So at some point, I think there will be a crossing line. And then, okay, are we still in a profitable business going forward? The automation and technique is evolving very fast. If you look at 5G, for instance, and I am interested to hear the opinion of Nokia on that topic. 5G was the buzzword already. I heard even 6G already. Okay, I think 10 years from now, yes, perhaps, that return on investment will be there. But 5G, 5 years ago, already everybody was fulfilled that that would be the game changer. Is it really the game changer? How much networks do we have fully 5G enabled and intercompatible at this moment? Not that many worldwide.
No, they're not.
With VoLTE, we saw that the revenue was declining because everything migrated to VoLTE immediately and the voice was losing. Executive management never realized that the new technique would undermine the revenue at that moment. And these are the things we are sometimes facing, and that's the challenge. And not that many people see the complexity and can connect all these dots at the same time.
It's quite interesting. I think we're almost at the end.
Can I make this?
Yeah, he wants to know that.
I mean, I sit together.
You touched his heart by talking about 5G and 6G.
Which is obviously a Nokia technology. I'm more in the inner network. This is my you know my pond. But no, I mean, I understand the concern about 5G, but 5G has been actually the root cause why the traffic is massively increasing. I think I was joking yesterday with some colleague when 3G arrived, it was a marketing, I consider this still one of the biggest marketing failure, or the failure of marketing, because only thing that they could create was video on the video call in 3G. And instead, 3G was used for everything else. We had the first email on 3G. Then the video call arrived with, I would say not even 4G, but with Skype and with all these software provider. 6G promises, and I don't know if it's known here to the attendees, but NVIDIA has just decided to enter in the equity of Nokia for 1 billion. So I estimated about 3% of our equity because they want to collaborate with us on 6G technology. So Nokia also has Nokia Bell Labs. We are already working now for a few years in 6G. 6G will arrive. How will it be? I still don't know personally. And I don't think it's going to be just more capacity, lower latency. Perhaps more on the lower latency and network integration. But one thing is clear, that there will be a sort of a mini data center-like inside the base station. That tells me that, again, when I'm thinking, what is network? It's definitely the optical, but it's even wider. It's taking certain services from an end user, which is not anymore just a mobile, is a user as such, can be also an IoT, to the data center and vice versa. But
quite interesting.
The business case, I can agree with you, it has been misused. I mean, many times it was the government overcharging.
I think Mr.
But the technology is there.
We figured out how to get you started with the 5G and 6G. It's actually, it's very much appreciated. I'm just asking if any of you would like to put like a closing statement on NaaS for wholesale, like in one short statement.
It's now the word NaaS. NaaS already exists for 30 years, but we didn't realize it, to be quite honest. And let's say, I'm happy to still work in a fast-moving environment where, let's say, traditional TDM technique, when we converted first to IP, and if you see now what's happening on a daily basis, it's fantastic. And I regret that the youngsters from university do not see that change at this moment. Rejuvenation should really happen, because look at the average age here at the table. Okay, we need young people, and perhaps we need to be challenged about the new generation who can use AI and new techniques to help us going forward and to use new business models as is, because our business models are very traditional still till this moment.
Definitely. Thank you.
That's my final remark.
What about you, Mr. Wally?
Yeah. So when you try and deploy NaaS or anything that's on demand, and you try and present this within your organization, you tend to see a lot of resistance from your sales team as well as your commercial folks, right? Because a lot of them are worried about cannibalizing, revenues from, other, I would say, golden services, like, that are offered traditional, like MPLS VPNs, whatnot, right? So I think if you want to deploy NaaS as a new service, I'm talking about the consumption-based model, especially if you're in a free, you are in a organization where there's a lot of fixed assets and a lot of revenues come from that. I think the first thing you need to do is you need to get some sort of a buy-in from your product teams as well as from your commercial teams, right? Otherwise, no matter what you do and how good it is, it could be a problem that could be solved with a interesting commercial model, right? So classic example is burstable traffic, right?
Yes.
We have been doing burstable traffic on the internet for decades now, right? There's nothing fancy about it, right? It's just capacity and then usage-based billing, right?
Yeah.
So now if you do want to deploy this as a new service, my recommendation would be to start small, relatively simple.
Proof of concept.
Yeah, deploy proof of concepts, and then that you can do deploy quickly and without too much resources, right? And then be willing to iterate, so that based on the feedbacks you're actually able to improve it to something that you can actually deploy on the market, right? And without anything, make sure your product teams and your commercial folks, you have the buy-in. Otherwise, you'll waste 6 months or 1 year of your time, and then product will never
For
get
a
on the
waste.
market.
Nobody will do it. Yeah. What about?
Final thought from my side. So NaaS in the optical domain is the answer to a problem of inefficiency. Why an operator is just deploying fiber and using it 10%, 5%, etc. We see still the need to reduce this inefficiency. So NaaS is a great topic. We saw this inefficiency when operators were building one data center just for one person. We need to share this type of assets in order to be monetizable, in essence, to reduce the inefficiency. But now, when you do that, you must collaborate with other entities, and this is the problem that quite often is happening. Many competitors don't understand that they can compete in the market, but still share the asset. And my final thought is, I really believe that this is an important point to change a little bit the mindset between what is a real competition, and we can even compete creating some zero trust type of system that allow us to use the same assets.
Even if you look right now at the hyperscalers, they're sharing infrastructure and they're competing. So we should do the same model as service providers in the region and across. Why would I build, let's say, a cable where basically Zoe's, they have their own cable in there? No, I will build it into a different direction, and we partner and we still compete, right? As though, yeah.
Exactly. That means that the competition must be moving to the services, not competition on the asset, on the physical asset.
Exactly. Agreed. Anything from your side, Mr. Lee?
Yeah, I mean, for me, NaaS is just a new term, right? It's like last time we have hosting, and then they change it to cloud, right? So actually, the base is still the servers where they host it, right? So similar like NaaS is something that we already have. We call it managed services before this, but now with some automation, so we call it NaaS.
Okay.
Right? So and we introduce a new set system into the industry, right? And for me, the enterprise is the one who will get the benefits of this NaaS, right? Because compared to the wholesale industry, right? So it's something that we have to accept, right? Yeah, and the NaaS is not really a product, but it's more like an operating model, right? Yeah. So we need to have this cultural
It's an operation model that people expect that will reduce OpEx and give you some space for your CapEx to upgrade to like latest technology. At the same time, it will open for you new revenue streams and so on.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your time. It's very much appreciated. From my side, when I look at things, because I'm into wholesale and connectivity and so on, and I sit down a lot with my colleagues in Saudi Arabia, and we talk because we know that we have an intention as a country to start selling inferencing inside Saudi Arabia and outside Saudi Arabia. And we were trying to figure out how to solve this because we don't know how to do it. So we started exploring basically NaaS into wholesale connectivity and into inferencing. And we're hoping to develop the idea of NaaS from being intent-based, where you go into a portal and you do it. So we're looking forward to evolve it into making it into a machine-to-machine type of talk without interfering any human being, and go with what we call a dark NOC. Thank you for the discussion. There will be a series of meetings later on, and we're trying to develop the idea in collaboration with the vendors and with the service providers in the region. Thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. Looking forward for our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.